Listen, laugh, and learn with Sacha and Ish as they share their experiences, thoughts, and tips to build skills that are not so average and a career that's not so ordinary. This is the Not So Breakfast Show.
All right, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, the podcast for leadership and career development. And today, we are hopping on board the career time machine as we go back and forwards, maybe having a little bit of a look into our past, into our future, just having an explore around what we might have done different, what we would predict that might happen in the future, and what do we need right now? And we're going to use ourselves as a guinea pig for that. And I'm inspired at the moment with time machines because Doctor Who, the new Doctor Who is coming out, and that fills me with joy whenever that comes out at Christmas. That is one of the things I look forward to. But the other thing I look forward to every single week, and it feels like I'm in a time machine because I get to see you whenever I want when I'm editing and doing all that kind of stuff. But Sacha Coburn, what is going on with you?
Kia ora koutou, I am coming to you today from Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. I have a brief stop here before I fly to Christchurch this afternoon. And I, on one of my recent flights, watched the new Indiana Jones that has all the cool people in it. And it deals with time machines. So I love this concept of messing around with time and time being malleable and what would you do differently, knowing that if you went back in time and changed things, you wouldn't end up being back here now. I've always been a fan of those time travel movies because it sort of explodes your brain as you try and calculate what happens next. I mean, Back to the Future was obviously the one that in our childhoods got us thinking about time. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, the DeLorean, it was such a cool car as well. And, going back and creating separate timelines. Fantastic. I love that stuff. When did you see the Indiana Jones movie, though?
On the plane coming home from Boston.
Ah, yeah. And you enjoyed it?
Oh, yes, I did. I love me some Indy.
Brilliant. Well, I tell you what, I'm in Auckland at the moment, and obviously you're in Hamilton. So why don't I hop in the time machine right now, and I'll come and get you, and then you can hop in, and then we'll go back in time. So maybe that's a good place to start.
Yes,
so,
let's do that. Yes.
I'll just jump in.
Yes, good.
It's true. It is bigger on the inside. It's quite deceptive, actually. It's got the buttons here, but I know how to work it. All right, here we go. It might be get a little bit wibbly-wobbly as I come over. You see me arriving there?
I can see you coming. That's incredible.
Excellent.
It's tiny. Are you in there?
Yeah, I'm in there. Look, I'll come out now and I'll grab you. All right. Hey, Sash. Hamilton's nice.
Oh, hey. Oh,
right.
So nice. And please don't touch me.
First time we've been together in a while. All right. Come on board. And let's see. Why don't we go back into your past for a starter?
Okay.
And I don't know, what sort of age do you want to meet yourself at?
I would love to meet me at 13.
13.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Going back a wee while. Here we go. Might take a couple of seconds.
Shut up. It's not that far.
Here we go.
So 1986.
Oh, brilliant. 1986. Look, we're coming out. The fashion is amazing. It's as amazing as I remember it. But there is little Sash. She is having a great time. What is little Sash doing at 13?
She's going to school. She's a brain box. She is going through some challenges with her friends. And I just want to walk alongside little Sash and say, it's okay, babe. It's going to get better. Yeah. So can we just whisper that in her ear? Can we just say to her, hey, look, we've come from the future and it works out pretty bloody good.
And she says, and you look fantastic. So she's pretty happy with that.
Yeah, she likes that a lot. And then we need to whisper in little Sasha's ear as we need to say, when you finish school, don't take so long to go to university. Just get on with your life, please.
Yeah.
That's what we need to say to her. We need to say to her, even though you think what you want to do is work at Les Mills for 3 years, you don't. You don't.
Why did you do that delay? Was it just that you were loving the job, or did you kind of really embrace the gap year that went to 3?
Yeah, when I left school, I'd had a really busy last year at school and I thought I just need a break. And I mean, I don't regret the 3 years that I spent working for the Les Mills fitness clubs in Auckland and Les Mills New Zealand. But I look back at that time and there's two things that come from it. I think maybe whenever you look back at your life, it's really useful to go, could you have done something differently? And apply that lesson moving forward, but also to recognise the blessing of whatever that thing was, even if it was something went wrong, the blessing of being able to learn from that. So when I reflect back on that time where I spent 3 years having a gap year instead of going to university, it taught me two things. One was I really fell in love with business in those first few years at Les Mills. I had really privileged access to understanding how the business worked, and I fell in love with this idea that business could be a force for good. So you could do good in people's lives through the goods and services that you provided. I was fascinated by the challenge of business. How do you make money? How do you price? How do you keep control of your costs? How do you market stuff? And so I had studied no business at school whatsoever, didn't think that was in my future. And so I love that I learned about business during my time at Les Mills. But what I didn't do in that time was I didn't turn my mind to what are the skills you are going to need to build a bigger career. And I knew that for the kinds of things that I needed to do and I wanted to do, I was going to need a bit more education. And I could have done with a stronger voice around me. I went and did some part-time polytech, and that was good, but it was kind of just putting off the inevitable, and I think I could have got started sooner. If you went back to when you were 13, what would we be wanting to say to little Ish?
Well, I think if I was seeing little Ish at 13, at that stage I had just started high school, right? So I would have been in Form 3, or what's that in the new schooling?
Year 9.
Year 9. I would have been a little fresh year 9. I would have been going to an all-boys school at that point. And I would have said, don't go to that school. Go to the other school now. Because I went to that school for about 2 years and I hated it. And it wasn't until I got to the other school, which was Nayland College. I went from Nelson Boys College to Nayland College in Nelson, that I really started to enjoy school a little bit more. Right. And so I only went to Nelson Boys College because it was closer, right, and I didn't really have to take the bus. But now I would be going, bloody hellish, get on the bloody bus and don't waste your time.
Get on the bus to see the girls.
Yeah, but the actual time I want to go back to, and let's jump back in the time machine and I'll surprise you with it. So here we go. The door is opening and here we are in 1997, and I think I'm about 22 at this stage. And I made a decision that I don't think was the right decision. In fact, I know it wasn't the right decision, but it was to sell some shares that I had started way back in my very first job investing with an investment company. And I sold those shares to buy an MR2, which is a little wee sports car that I wanted so bad. Mainly because I think I'd always kind of had crappy cars, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to get the sports car. I want to have the little car that's going to be awesome. That car cost me quite a bit of money, not only to buy, but to fix again and again and again and again and again.
Yes.
And it was kind of one of those investments that I go, you know what? You sold some shares to buy a car that depreciated in value, that cost you a whole heap of money, and you shouldn't have done that one. That would be one of the little pieces of advice I would give myself.
Well, it's that thing that it would be great to have taught our kids and have been taught ourselves, that we think that buying a car is an asset, but it's not really an asset because it only ever decreases in value, costs you money. It's a means to an end in terms of transportation, but you didn't need the little M27 whatever thing you bought, right? And I presume that you're mature enough now to be able to unpack your motivations for it. And you might still choose to do it, but you'd do it eyes wide open. You'd go, I need to feed my ego, and so therefore this is what I'm going to do. And you could still make the decision, but you'd make it with way more consciously, and you wouldn't think of it as an investment. The shares that you sold, Do you ever torture yourself by looking to see what they would be worth now if you'd kept them?
Oh, hell no. I don't think I would want to know. Because it wasn't like it was a huge sum of money, but it was the compounding effect of the constant savings.
Yes.
So I'd been saving by that point since I was kind of like around 16. And so suddenly that was 6 years worth of savings back then, which was, a reasonable amount of money. But if I'd stuck with it, Sash, holy crap.
That's a lot, yeah. It'd be worth a bit more than your car is not worth now, right?
Yeah. Funny thing about that car is it used to overheat all the time. What it was is we found out after I tried to get it repaired so many times. When your radiator is hot, right, it pushes water out, and then when it cools, it sucks it back in. But they must have put the overflow on wrong, so it was pushing the water out, but it couldn't suck anything back in, so it was always just getting less and less in the radiator. But I bumped into the actual guy that sold that car, and he said, "Oh, did you buy that car?" And I said, yeah. And he said, "Have you had trouble with the overheating?" I was like, "You asshole."
You saw me coming.
What's another time that you would want to jump around in the time machine and give yourself some advice, Sash?
I would like to go back into, maybe this year is about 1998, I think. 1998, right. So not long after that. And we are going in the time machine to a meeting I ran at Les Mills in Auckland. So this feels like we're going back in time to fix all of our mistakes. So yes, let's do that. Let's go back and fix the mistakes we made. So here we go, 1998. What happened was I was asked to run a meeting for personal trainers, and man, it did not go well. It did not go well at all. And it still wounds me. And it's really easy when I look back at that situation to go, I was set up, the meeting wasn't set up right, what's not my fault? And that's true to a certain extent. And I think we've mentioned this before on the podcast. The only learning that can come out of that for me is to own the part that I played in it. Is to say, look, you might have been young and you might have been trying hard, but you didn't do enough preparation, or you didn't do enough sense checking the brief. And so one of the things that I've taken forward into my career now is every time I'm asked to do something, speak in front of a group, take a meeting, I try and get really clear about the brief. I want to know, do the people in the room want to be there? Do the people in the room who you are trying to change their behaviour, do they even acknowledge that they have a problem or a reason to change their behaviour? Who benefits from the outcome of this meeting? Who's paying me? Who do I need to actually please in this situation? And I've just got so much better about asking clients questions because of that one time where it was just like it felt like I was being fed to the lions. And I went willingly because my ego was saying, well, no one else has been able to help with this problem, but you can, because you're so, I don't know, what adjective I was filling in. You're so smart, or you're so talented, or you're such a great speaker, or such a great writer, or whatever. And I just missed so much of what I needed to understand. So that's been a really good lesson for me. And so if we go back in time, we're going to go back into that room now. You can imagine it's a room that's full of personal trainers who do not want to be in the room. And I'm going to walk in and I'm going to say, guys, my name's Sacha. It's so great to be with you today. Take the hour that you had set aside to listen to me and do whatever the fuck you want with it, because I've got nothing to say. And then I just would have walked out. Everyone would have clapped, and that would be great. So if we could just do that thing, that would be awesome.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. All right, I will go back in time, and I am going to probably go to about, it's probably a similar age actually, but I think I'm going to go back to when I was just married. So that would have been when I was 24, so 1998. And I was in my car, and I had purchased the Tony Robbins Personal Power set.
Wow. Cassette or CD?
I think it was cassette, and then I moved into the subscription model, which was a CD. And I remember distinctly my brain turning on that
Wow.
day. Like it literally turned on. And if I could go back and talk to myself, I would say, you feel that? That is absolutely just the beginning. And now is your chance to double down.
Wow.
Like, don't worry about the books. Don't worry about the stuff that you're going to try to read the book. You're going to go in and you're going to buy the book and you're going to sit there and you try and read it. Just double down on audio, get audio books, get anything you can that is in that format, because for you, that format is where the majority of your education is going to come from. Do every course, take every opportunity. That would be the piece of advice, because I did that, but I think I was a slow burn. Whereas if I had known that that was the moment, I think I could have consumed a lot more content.
I love the idea that perhaps, up till that point in your life, education and information and motivation was coming at you a bit like when you try and drink from a fire hose. It's coming towards you, but you can't actually get satiated. Like, you've got your mouth open, but all you're getting is tiny drops. And clicking onto the fact that you are an audio learner, it's like having a massive big glass of water and you've got a straw. And it's like it's all getting in, all the goodness gets to you. And for you to recognize that, like you say, turbocharges the way that you learn, switched you on, set you on a path where you were able to say, actually, I've thought about it and I'm amazing, but also what have I got to contribute and how do I give and how do I improve the lives of others around me? And that really kind of set you up at that time. That's very cool.
Yeah, and it becomes one of those things, like as we start to reflect back and look at those little things that we did or didn't do or would change or wouldn't change or whatever it is, I really think the learnings in that is really how we pass that information on, right? So when we're mentoring and we're coaching, how do we take that experience and make it an opportunity to maybe open someone's eyes or help someone else learn from that mistake, or help our kids or friends to start investing earlier, or whatever it is. But that's the useful thing in the exercise.
Yeah, and I love this idea, when we talk about conscious leadership being above or below the line, and one of the stages of recognizing that you're above the line is that everything is funny from a distance. So in the moment when I think about that meeting that went so horribly, I was mortified for years afterwards. I carried it with me, and I've eventually now I can look back at it and laugh and just how hilarious the situation is that I remember, this is how bad it is. I remember exactly what I was wearing. This is more than 30 years ago and it's imprinted in my brain, but I've created enough distance that I can laugh about it and go, that's funny. And I also know that anybody that was there and has seen me work subsequently, they will be able to laugh and they will be able to go, wow, we've heard Sacha speak and we've learnt this from her and she's pointed us in the right direction. And remember that time she really crapped out, and they'll have a laugh. I'll have a laugh, and you get to treat those mistakes lightly and actually let go of the baggage. I think sometimes we carry our mistakes around like rocks in our backpack. Sometimes they're behind us, but we carry them. And other times it's almost like when we meet someone new, we go, here's this big rock that I just need to share with you. I'm a bit of a failure at this thing. And we put it out there when really we could just drop it and move on. So, I don't need that rock anymore. That doesn't serve me. See you later.
And interestingly, if we gave everybody in that room a time machine to go back to a moment, none of them would go back to that moment, because probably none of them think about it that often. It's probably not even in their brain, right? But for some reason, when we have those little micro-traumatic moments or those things that we replay, but we're the only one replaying it. They've moved on. They might remember it if you said, hey, remember that time I went in and we did that session, it was really crap, and they might have a laugh then, but probably have never thought about it ever since then, have they?
Well, I think there's one other aspect to that I think is interesting. I think a few of them, and I'm thinking of some specific people, they might reflect back and go, when they wrote their feedback, they were cruel, right? They were cruel in their feedback. So they saw a young person who was trying but battling. Yeah. It was knives out, right? So I'm set free from what they, they said I can take the learning and that's great, right? But I actually think that if you did take some of them back to that room in their evaluation sheet afterwards, I think they've grown sufficiently that they would go, actually, I was way more senior, and while it was terrible, I could have crafted the feedback in a way that would have been coaching or motivational rather than scathing. So as much as I was a bit rubbish, I think it's also okay to recognize that not everybody's performing at their best all day, every day. And sometimes those things collide and you go, we've all done badly today. Oh, never mind, we'll do better tomorrow.
Mm. All right, Sash, why don't we go into the future? We've got a time machine.
Yes.
So,
how far forward do you want to go?
So turning 50 this year. So why don't we jump to 60? Why don't we go 10 years into the future?
Okay.
So what's that, 2033? Mm-hmm. Same date. So jump on in.
Yes.
Pull the levers.
Good.
And we've arrived. I'm actually quite looking forward to coming out because I think there's going to be flying cars.
I think we're going to open out in 10 years' time and it's just a wasteland. The planet is on fire and we've not survived. It's dystopia.
Oh, really? So you're going for the Terminator Judgment Day? We haven't survived AI. Okay. All right. We're opening the door. Oh, good news. We're all here. It's all good. There's no robots with red eyes.
Well, here's a test for me, right? So if today is the 1st of December and it's my dad's birthday and he's 81 today. So let's just go predict 10 years forward and my dad is still there. So happy birthday, Dad. Good to see you. 91.
That's fantastic. So I guess we're obviously here, but slightly predicting. But what sort of things do you think you should be working on now to position for where 60-year-old Sacha needs to be?
This is cheesy as all get out, but here I go. 50-year-old Sacha has a slightly dodgy hip. I have to do stuff now to ensure that 60-year-old Sacha can still be dancing and grooving like I want to be. So if I want to have the same kind of quality of life that I have now in terms of a health experience, I need to be really deliberate about what I do to keep my physical body in shape. It's not enough to say, just as I go about my daily life and have the odd run from time to time or play a bit of tennis, that's not enough. I'm going to have to be way more strategic and deliberate about getting this little meat sack that I take my brain to meetings in to be in good shape.
The old meat sack.
The meat sack that takes my brain to the meeting.
I'm thinking about some of the skills that I might want to be investing in now. Like I would love to be able to coach and mentor in a stronger space. So for me, I can either do that a couple of ways, right? I can either keep doing what I'm doing and just use my life experiences and grow, or I could accelerate my learning in that space by starting to look at what do great coaches do? What do great mentors do? What's the course that's out there? What sort of information would be helpful? How do I get more experience? How do I start having conversations now so that by the time I'm 60, I've had 1,000 conversations or 2,000 or 10,000 conversations to get better? So that's one of the things that I'm starting to look at.
Yeah, I love that, the idea of what are the skills that you need. And I love this model of stop-start. So you can say, what are the skills that you're going to add and that you want to bring to you? And also there's things that I just want to stop doing. I want to stop doing stuff that's going to set me up better for the future. So there's even tiny little organizational things that even at 50, I'm like, well, you should have that nailed by now. But newsflash to anyone that's in my orbit, I do not have it organized. And so even little things that I've been learning from you where you say, don't have a to-do list. If you have something to do, you have to schedule it. So have a when list. So even last night I was sitting up and I was like, I've got to do that next week. And I started to write a list in my diary and I went, no, don't write a list. Put it in the spot in the day that you're going to do it. So I want to stop doing dumb stuff like to-do lists and start doing smart things like scheduling.
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-minute presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-minute presenter program. Well, I reckon 10 years in the future, Sash, you've read a few books. That is something that is true.
I will have read some books.
And you've probably been reading books that in 10 years obviously haven't been written yet, but also haven't been written by people that are of an age now to write a book that you would want to read, but in 10 years they totally will be. So it's going to be interesting. But part of, I guess, being in the future is we are living in a world of AI right now. And so asking you as the slight oracle, where do you think AI is going to head based on some predictions or feelings that you've got right now?
I think that one of the biggest challenges that we are going to have to solve as a middle class kind of society is to say automation, artificial intelligence is going to decimate the jobs that are available for humans to do. And we have such an inbuilt strong work Protestant drive where we value work ethic, we say hard work is good. What does hard work look like when so much of or so many of the jobs that are being done now are going to be automated and done for us? Are we going to become a civilization in decline, like the Roman Empire, for example, where, you just increasingly your life is dedicated to pursuits of happiness that we think are going to come from having more leisure time. But are we, going to allow ourselves more leisure time? And if we do, are we going to find that paradoxically it makes us less happy?
Interesting.
I think those are some interesting things that we face. Because if you think about how much automation can strip out a company's workforce. So people say, well, if we get this particular piece of equipment, so in construction, for example, there's really good robots now that will do all your jib stopping and all your painting. So you can, as a builder, put your jib up, go away, and overnight that'll get plastered, stopped, painted. So you come back the next day and the room is now ready for the next thing that needs doing. So that takes out 2 or 3 people's jobs. It saves all this time. So what are the plasterers going to do now? What are the painters going to do now? They're not all going to learn how to code. No. So, I think there's some real excitement around what AI enables us to do. And the question is, to what end? I told you it was dystopian here.
I've been thinking about it in like 3 buckets of AI.
Yeah, please.
So bucket number 1 is tools. So I think that we should just be embracing tools that allow you to do what you do more efficiently and faster.
Yes, yeah.
For example, I was editing a video today and some of the audio had strong background noise in it from the gym where we recorded. I was able to put it into my editing software and use the AI to remove the background noise. Now, I could have done that myself, but it would have taken me ages to find the right channel to sample it, to do all the things I needed to do that. Whereas within the click of a button and within about less than a minute, it had done all of that stuff. That's just smart use of tools that are getting better to help me get faster. And that's just one example. There'll be examples in everyone's work where a tool is available and you're either resisting it or you're embracing it. And I think you need to embrace it to just get better and stay relevant. The second bucket I think is going to be useful is the bucket of data and analytics.
Yes.
So at the moment, the way we look at data and analytics is we use it retrospectively. So we go, well, based on what has happened in the past, we could make this change now, and that would set us up for the future. But what we may be able to do with AI is create models and straw men templates of what would happen if we made this change, what could happen 6 months from now, a year from now. What will that look like? And if I use the example that we're playing with, for example, with timetabling for the gym, like at the moment, we look at our timetables, we make sure we've got the right mix of programs, we look at the performance of a class to make sure it's getting the right people and everything. But what we might be able to do is, well, what if we change that program out? What might happen to attendance? What if we did the timetable based on when car parking was available?
Yes.
So I think there's that part. And then the third part will be what can be done to just replace someone that becomes then cost effective for a business. And I think that's the part that you're talking about. That's the self-driving car So we no longer need Uber and people to drive taxis, right? You can just jump in your car, you can work in your car, it will drive you, and then you can either park it or it'll go out and just pick people up, or it will go home and it will come back later. So, so the way of that kind of thing interests me. So those three buckets are kind of what I'm starting to look at with future stuff.
And thinking about what's your role in all of that. So what do you bring to that? How do you survive in a job environment like that? What does your life look like? Yeah, I think these are all fascinating questions to consider and to not be confronted by them. I love this idea that if the pace of change outside of your organisation is faster or more rapid, well, faster means more rapid. Sorry, guys. If the pace of change outside your organisation is faster than the pace of change inside your organisation, you'll get left behind.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same for yourself. So if the pace of change in society around you outstrips the willingness that you have to embrace that change, then you ultimately get left behind. So I saw this with my niece, who she's 12, 13, one of those ages, and she's going to school. So she picks up her mum's phone and she says, "Hey Siri, ring Amanda and tell Amanda that I've left and I'll meet her at the bus stop." And then she just leaves. And Siri rings Amanda, tells Amanda, leaves a message. Amanda leaves and they meet each other at the bus stop. And they haven't had any communication themselves. All my niece has done is kind of yelled out at her mum's phone. And you go, yeah, that's cool. And I'm still saying to my kids, how do I get this Siri thing to work? Right? So we become irrelevant when we allow ourselves to get left behind. And I think at our age in particular, I'm so committed to this idea that I'm halfway. So I want to embrace technology in the same way that I did in my 20s. Yeah. I don't want to resist it except when it's evil.
I love it. All right, well, let's head back to the present just so we can sum up because, I don't want to stay in the future.
Yeah, please, thank you. It's very hot, as I mentioned.
And we're back. That's good. Okay, I feel like we can sum up now. Wow.
There we go,
That was a whirlwind tour. That was great going backwards and forwards, but sometimes being able to reflect back and project forward and think about things and just explore the past and predict the future is a useful exercise, and maybe this could be something that you could even do as a team or just on your own one day when you're sitting in the car, sitting in the beach, rather than playing Angry Birds.
And you know what, Ash? I have a reflection on our reflections.
Good.
When given the choice, neither of us chose to go back and relive a moment that was extraordinary. We both chose to go back to fix things, right? And I think this human drive to carry on mistakes with us and to go back and fix them, and that's what we remember, that's really fascinating because either one of us could have said, let's go back to that time I nailed something and everybody clapped. But we don't. Our instinct is to fix, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If we go forward and go, okay, so what can we fix? How can we make a difference? Instead of having regret, actually use that same motivation to do some good in the future. I think that's powerful.